Aloha, everyone. Good to see you all again on this second last topic of the China Market Webinar series about the travel and tourism. My name is Timothy Tew. I'm the Economic Development Specialist at DBET. If you are looking for more information about the whole China Market Webinar series or the other high-step programs, events, webinar that we have, you can go to Invest.Hawaii.Gov and go under the Exporting tab to explore more. Before we start the webinar, I would like to go over some housekeeping items. The webinar will be recorded for future use and playback. All participants are muted upon entry. If you have any questions for the panelists, you can leave your questions in the Q&A box, and we will adjust the questions at the end during the Q&A sessions. Or you can push the raise hand button on your screen, and I will give you access to ask questions directly during the Q&A sessions. Thank you all again for joining us today. And now I would like to introduce Jamie Long, the Manager of Business Development Divisions and DBET, to introduce us the high-step programs. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Timothy. Aloha and good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another session in our China Market series. I just want to give you just a brief background about our high-step program. High-step is our Hawaii State Trade Expansion Program, which is an export development program that is funded primarily through a grant that we received from the U.S. Small Business Administration. The purpose of the program is to help companies that are interested in exporting outside of the United States, selling their Hawaii-made goods and services within the global markets. And the goal is to increase the number of Hawaii companies that are exporting, as well as to increase the dollar amounts of Hawaii-made goods and services that are sold in the global marketplace. So we have three integrated components to the program. We have our export readiness program, of which this webinar and other webinars that we put on are part of that, to help Hawaii companies gain information about either export specific topics such as financing, such as intellectual property, such as going to international trade shows. So we have export related topics as well as market related topics for companies that may be interested in selling in China, selling in Japan, selling in Korea. So as Timothy already mentioned, our website is Invest.Hawaii.Gov, and if you are interested in any of these webinars, please go onto our website to look for the topics that are coming up. Part of our export readiness also includes partnering companies with some of the business advisors that are with the organizations that we work with that help companies put together an export development strategy, or to, if you already have one, to help you go through it and possibly revise it. So that's the export readiness component. We also have another component where we subsidize the cost for going into trade shows. We have Hawaii pavilions at selected trade shows where we go in as a group of Hawaii companies to sell Hawaii products and services, and to help companies find buyers and distributors. With the COVID-19 pandemic right now, some of those plans have to be changed. And so again, I encourage you to follow our, to check our website for any latest information on our calendar of events that we have planned that maybe have to be postponed or rescheduled because of the pandemic. And the last component is our company assistance, where companies can apply for funding to help them implement portions of their export development plan. So I would encourage you to look at that if that's something you're interested in. There are some other eligibility requirements over and above those for the high-step program. We are currently taking applications through June 30th for this for company assistance. So again, if you're interested, please go to our website, Invest.Hawaii.Gov, under the exporting tab, where you can find more information. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me or to Timothy or Gordon, and they can put you in touch with me. So I just thank you so much for your kind attention. And I would like to turn it over now to Gordon Zhang, who is the director of our Beijing office. Gordon.
Thank you, Jamie. Aloha, everybody. And my name is Gordon Zhang, and I'm the executive director of DBAT Beijing office. The office has been in China, in Beijing, for 14 years, and we have been helping Hawaii businesses to reach out to Chinese market. And as some of you know, that this is our 10th webinar. And this time we are going to talk about travel and business, travel and tourism in China. And well, the topic was decided sometime last September or October. And as the pandemic continues, and well, this is a topic that is hard to talk about, but because the travel and tourism means so much to Hawaii, and we cannot afford not to talk about it. And China is not a big player on the Hawaii tourism map, but we would like to take a relook at the market with you to see whether there are potential opportunities under the new situations. I hope that after today's presentations from our speakers, you will be walking away with more confidence to do something, to do marketing in China. And I want to quote a proverb: when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. So even though that we are still waiting for the reopening and normalization of the economy, we need to do something. And we have 3 speakers today, and we would like to ask them what's their opinion, what's their views, and what's their experience. They have been working with Hawaii closely. And so their views and comments might be helpful for your decision making. The 3 speakers, one is a researcher and a consultant from a consulting company. And the other 2 ladies, they are helping doing business. They are from the trade, and they have been doing business either for Hawaii or with Hawaii. The first speaker is Mr. David Tang, Vice President of Ava Alliance Tourism Consulting. David has been working in the area of research and marketing of Chinese outbound tourism for 12 years. Not many organizations focus on outbound travel, but Ivy Alliance is one of them. David is a key person in multiple influential projects, including the International Forum on China Outbound Tourism, China Outbound Tourism Quality Service Certification Program, China Outbound Tourism Price Index. He was also the chief China marketing representative for Guam for a few years. And he's, well, from this, he's getting familiarized with, island economies. He is also a frequent speaker in international meetings and conferences, including United Nations World Tourism Organization events on topics of China outbound tourism. Now let's invite Mr. David Tang to hear what he has to say. David, please.
Thank you very much, Gordon. And many thanks to the invitation from the state of Hawaii, Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism. Aloha and good morning to everyone. I'm David Tang. I come from Ivy Alliance Tourism Consulting, an international tourism think tank and tourism marketing solution provider based in Beijing. It's my great pleasure to join this high-step webinar today and talk about travel and tourism of China. For the past 20 years, we have experienced rapid growth of Chinese tourism, especially in the area of Chinese outbound tourism. If you look at this figure, in year 2000, the annual number of Chinese outbound departures is only about 10 million. But this number increased dramatically to 155 million for year 2019, according to the latest statistics by China Tourism Academy. This number includes departures to Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan, and also include those travel for work and business, for education and family reunion. But still, it's an incredible achievement. Growing together with the market is Chinese travelers' consumption ability and the travel expenditure. The CTA's statistics shows in 2019, Chinese tourists' expenditure in overseas destinations is about 133 billion US dollars, which means in average for each outbound trips, the Chinese travelers spend 1,000 US dollars. All these figures are telling us China is a highly potential market. 20 years ago, if you see a Chinese traveler on the street of Hawaii or other places of the United States, he or she is most likely a student or a businessman at his age of 40 to 60. If you're lucky to see some Chinese tourists, most likely they are traveling with a group guided by a tour guide waving small flags, and they spend like 6 hours in big shuttle bus every day, and they shop a lot, souvenirs. But now the market is different. With better economic conditions in the family, now travelers that are under 40 occupied over 60% of the total amount of the travelers. And if we look at the structure of tourist resources, usually Chinese outbound tourists come from the coast areas, the development regions of China. But now you can see more and more tourists, they come from mid central part of China or even western part of China. And a lot of these travelers, they no longer travel in big groups. Instead, they prefer to travel by themselves or with a family and friends. They have more and more diversified demand. They are not satisfied only by sightseeing or shopping, but they would like to experience more, like tasting the food or go hiking in new places or watch football games or join a concert. All these kind of different demands that requires the product of Chinese outbound tourism has to upgrade to meet their demand. That's why we see a lot of different products nowadays, which are the themed tour product, customized products, or small travel group products. And the travelers, they spend more comparing to 20 years ago for their products and to pursue better quality of their experience during the trip. In 2020, the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic has caused a huge impact to the tourism sector in China and the world. And according to the latest news, unfortunately, we heard that over 170 businesses related to tourism, which are travel agencies, hotels, restaurants in China, have been closed completely. And a lot of our colleagues in this industry lost their jobs or changed their careers. But based on the knowledge of the China market and the future trend, we believe the demand of Chinese travelers, the demand on Chinese outbound trips by the travelers will never disappear. And there will be some changes. So it's important for us to find what may cause the changes to the travelers. Earlier 2020, we conducted a survey together with Tata China Comfort Travel Group, and we questioned a lot of potential tourists from over 30 Chinese provinces, autonomous regions, and municipalities, cities. And we asked them questions on whether they would like to travel after the pandemic is over and how they would like to travel. And we find some interesting result. First is travelers who are willing to travel by themselves will be more than what is like before the pandemic, especially the customers from the big cities like Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangdong. And most of these travelers, they would like to choose short-haul tourism destinations like Japan, Korea, and Asian destinations that spend less time for them to travel. Even some European countries remain attractive to these travelers. And many of these respondents would like to choose tropical islands, leisure and relaxing tours, and in-depth experience product like cultural themed tours or food tasting tours. And their priority concerns is the situation in this destination, whether there would be good pandemic prevention and control measures, if there would be any guarantee for their health and safety protections. So based on the survey of the Chinese travelers, we think the Chinese outbound travel market will have the following changes after the pandemic. First is that shopping demand and the behavior of the travelers will have major changes. More and more tourists will choose to travel by themselves, which is FIT travels. And the younger person will have quite diversified demands on their trips. If choosing a package tour, the number of the group will be small, or even only customized for families. And for those destination countries who have performed better in control the pandemic will be welcomed by the Chinese travelers. And whether or not the visa policy is convenient can also have impact on the number of Chinese arrivals. And it could take a longer and slow process for the total number of Chinese outbound travelers to return to what is in 2019. So based on all these potential changes, we have some recommendations to the tourism destinations as well as the local tourism suppliers. First, we recommend that you choose all kinds of digital marketing tools that can help you to promote your brand and to enhance your publicities. In China, Chinese travelers are now very customers to new media marketing tools like Douyin or Kuaishou. It's essential for you to at least know how these marketing tools works, and better if you can open an account or do some promotions through these platforms. And secondly is to make emergency plans. There's still a possibility that the pandemic could emerge again. So if you can have some emergency plan to quickly and effectively counteract to the emerging pandemic, then it will be easier for you to quickly adopt your products. And also, it's very important to strengthen the partnership with Chinese travel trade. These are your key partners to help you recover quickly after the pandemic. And they also suffered a lot due to the introduction I talked before in this pandemic. But we believe through cooperation, we can both recover quickly from the pandemic, because we believe that no winter lasts forever and no spring escapes its turn. And the fourth recommendation is that it's important to develop some new product and services that is catering to the different needs and change demands of Chinese travelers. That means you might be pay more attention to the safety and health issues relating to the product. And lastly, for the tourism destinations, we recommend you to take actions earlier to have some targeted marketing plans and or solutions in order to target your customer groups in China and to have a better result. So that's all for my introduction today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. And so David gave us, a broad picture of the Chinese outbound market, and he also updated us with the latest figures and the trends under the new situations for Chinese outbound travels. And also, he is, I think his tone is optimistic. And so let's invite our other speakers to see whether they coincide or they speak from the same perspective or from a different perspective. Our second speaker is Miss Ava Yan. And the first title she has is Hawaii Travel Expert. And that caught my eyes. And this title is certified by HTA. So she is really familiar with Hawaii tourism. And she served as the head of JTB North America's Beijing office. And her task, her priority was to promote Hawaii in the Chinese market. So she's familiar not only with Hawaii tourism resources, and at the same time, she has a sound understanding in the travel interests and habits of the Chinese tourists. She has 15 years of experience in the travel industry, including working for British and Canadian companies. She has traveled to over 160 cities in 17 countries. Currently, she is operating her own travel company, and she also works as a KOC. She runs her own, that means she runs her own social media channels. And so she's going to share with us what she has done for Hawaii and what she would wish that Hawaii and the Chinese trade can work together with Hawaii to promote Chinese travel to Hawaii. Now, Ava, please.
Thank you, Jordan. Aloha. I'm very happy to meet friends from Hawaii in this special way. Some attenders at this webinar we may have met before during Hawaii-China roadshows. I worked for GTB North Americas in Beijing before as a local hired travel industry staff. Today, I would like to share some real info and experience with you. Team, next, please. Team, next page, please. First of all, I have a few numbers to share with you. Team, next, please. The number of Chinese outbound tourism had reached 155 million in 2019. Previous, please, team. We can see that the growth is very large. This is just the beginning. Based on research from Professional Institute, by 2030, this number is expected to exceed 400 million. Next, please, team. Let's look at the second set of data. We all know that China is a populous country, but do you know how many people in our country has passports? Only 9%. And this ratio is 14 and 76 in the US and the UK. Next, please. Today is the last day of Chinese Lunar New Year holiday. Let's take a look at the travel data during the 7 days of the national holidays. Among 18 provinces, Sichuan province ranks first of tourism number and income. You may be wondering what else number have to do with bringing Chinese tourists to come to Hawaii. Of course, there is a relationship. All data can guide our actions and direction. China has a huge outbound tourists population base. For Chinese, outbound travel will become an increasingly common travel consumption habit. Only diversified destination can meet people's travel needs. Team, next, please. Now, the proportion of people with passport is not high, but with the economic development of the society, people's education level increased and people pursue for a better life. Same as in developed countries, travel will become the basic need of life. 2020 is a year of fighting of the epidemic. However, look at China's domestic travel data, which stand at 2.8 billion. People are still traveling. The per capita expenditure is not high, as most tourists are looking for high cost performance. Next, please. To summarize the data I just shared with you, most people think that Chinese tourists market is like a big cake. However, I think it should be regarded as a pyramid. And the tourists who were traveling to Hawaii are only at the top of the pyramid. As the base gets bigger and better, there will be more opportunity for Hawaii. If the previous sharing is tell you the prospectors of market, then what we need to do next is how to prepare to profit from it. So the problem is coming at the same time. Next, please. What are some, there are so many competitors. What trump card do we have? In my past work as reception tourism organization, I communicated closely with the Hawaii Tourism Authority, and we all worked hard to make tourists choose Hawaii as their travel destination. Why? For Hawaii, besides high-end islands, can there be other labor? In fact, we all know very well Hawaii's charm, Hawaii's unique geomorphology and culture are beyond the reach of other islands. I think they're more worth sharing with Chinese tourists. How could we let Chinese tourists understand and recognize the beauty of Hawaii? To create the branding of Hawaii, this part is actually something we should think about deeply. Next, I want to share what I tried as a reception tourism organization in China market. Which method works and which method failed and why. This could help you to avoid a roundabout route in the future. Next, please, team. When Hawaii Airlines started flying to China, some local Hawaii tourism wholesalers began to attract a large number of tourists to Hawaii at low prices. I believe that some of you should have met them around Waikiki Beach and the DFS shopping area during this period. And I think that you want to complain. Why you didn't get any business from it? Tourists come back and also complain. Hawaii is so, it's not as luxury as our Sanya, Hainan. Chinese tourists were here, but there was no win-win result. All of us had discovered this problem, so everyone began to adjust the product sold in the market under the incentive mechanism of the Hawaii tourism authorities, differentiating the products in detail, hoping to create Hawaii diversified products. The result of implementation is that difference in preference and understanding limited the effectiveness of product promotion. Let me take some products as example to analyze the reasons. For wedding, it is difficult for invited guests to obtain visas. The makeup, filming style, and the procedure that Hawaii can provide do not match the preference of the bride. They like the photos to be taken in front of the iconic buildings, imagined like superstar, but the local staff advocated a nature way and use cities to save the photos and provide customers 1 week later. All of these services cannot keep up with the Chinese needs. For the marathon, many Chinese enthusiasts are focused on the social circle and posting the transcripts. They prefer Berlin Marathon, Boston Marathon, and other events that can show their glory. The scenic track has not become the key to their choice point. Therefore, a popular travel product needs to combine with customer preference and adjustments. So what do Chinese tourists like or pay for? The classic Oahu One Islands or multi-island tours had always been popular. From the statistic result of various reservations, it can be seen that tourists prefer to travel as family or with friends. Self-driving tours and FIT tours have a higher number of booking than group tours. Share this information is to help that everyone understands that if you want to get Chinese tourists, in addition to the promotion of your own resources, you need to spend more time understanding the preference of Chinese tourists and see how to effectively combine them to profit from it. Next, please. Tim? How do Chinese tourists currently view travel abroad? China's tourist attractions are almost the same. For example, like Asian tiles and the glass plank roads, they are only put on different locations. The characteristics of the scenery are not fresh. During the Chinese holiday, there are too many people in the scenic area, and there's no way to feel the beauty. Therefore, traveling overseas during vacation, especially in the Americas, these travel destinations are at the top choice of middle class and high net worth individuals. So after the epidemic is eliminated, perhaps we should call it normalization and controllable. As long as the environment is safe and visas are not beyond the reach, Chinese tourists will be seen everywhere in the world. Team, next, please. In the end, if you ask me if I have any suggestions for everyone here right on the current situation, that is, do something is better than nothing. In fact, before the outbreaking of the epidemic, I can see during my work that tourism bureaus around the world are working hard to promote in Chinese markets. After the epidemic broke out, almost everyone has stopped because of the budget or some programs. Of course, we could understand that. However, I have also seen some national tourism administrations promote on social media through their own account or cooperate with KOLs and the RTO's account. They continue to be exposed in front of us and constantly put out the beautiful scenery of their destination to everyone. Now, you must to ask me how to do. Team, next, please. During the recent months, social media completely occupied people's lives because we cannot go out. More and more people see the world through smartphones. New models such as short video and live broadcast have been fully accepted by people and integrated into their life. I believe that many of you here have personal or company accounts on Facebook or Instagram. If there is any most effective personal advice for everyone, it is to run your own account. Use an app popular in China, like TikTok, Xiaohongshu, and the WeChat video account. These apps are the most popular in China nowadays, and the user conversion rate is the highest. Rather than waiting for the PR company or travel agencies to join to promote after the epidemic goes away, it is better to go to the sea-end market and let tourists see and feel the beauty of Hawaii. Compared with the traditional model that everyone was used to before, this is a cost-effective technology and a publicity method that can be publicized and marketed at low cost. Everyone has a lot of material to share in your daily work and life. Of course, after a lot of posts, check those content which are most likely and reposted by your followers. You can copy the successful experience and cater to market preference. But before that, please take action. Before get Chinese tourists go to Hawaii, let Hawaii go to Chinese tourists first. Next, please. As myself is convinced that there is a huge opportunity in social media. I'm now a KOC. If you want to work with me, I'm more than happy to. Feel free to send me an email, and here is my email address. Mahalo for listening.
Okay, thank you, Ava. And well, interestingly, that in our previous webinars, and a number of speakers brought up the subject of social media and the effects, and in relations to cost is very very good. And they also try to encourage our audience in Hawaii to do the same. And so today, Ava, who used to be, in the business of, travel and tourism and promoting Hawaii, she also suggests that, we can do at this moment in the situation that, there is a budget cut, or there is a travel ban, and we can still do marketing promotion through social media. And she has experience to start from scratch, and she is very happy to share with you her experience. And if you have questions in this regard, you can still ask her after our third speaker finishes her speech. And now let's welcome Miss Candice Wang. She is the Director of Destination Management Department, CASA Tourism. CASA Tourism has been one of the largest outbound travel companies in China. And like Ava Alliance, who is focusing on China outbound travel, and so does CASA. And I know this company, about 14, 15 years ago, when nobody was doing advertising in other countries. I received, promotion materials very often from the company. And well, Candice has served in this company since 2011. And she is the manager for both North America and South America. And she's responsible for establishing and expanding business relations with the partners in these destinations. In terms of her product development, she is especially familiar with chartered flights, meetings and conventions, and developing services for high-end clients. And now welcome Ms. Candice Wang. Candice, please.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Greeting from Beijing, and I'm really glad that I can take this chance to share you with the prediction of Chinese tourism market and the outbound tourism during post-COVID-19 period, and how Hawaii may attract Chinese tourists again after the reopening of the outbound market. So let's start with my presentation. And team, please. Thank you. Please turn to the next page. Yes. First of all, let's take a look at the current state of China tourism industry. Because of the well-controlled epidemic situation in China, China's tourism industry had been recovering during the second half year of 2020. According to the government's number, during the National Days Golden Week of last week, China received 670 million domestic tourists, with a year-on-year recovering of reaching to the almost 18% according to the comparable standards. And another good news is on February 17th this year, the number of infected people in the all high-risk area in China are cleared. As a result, traveling in mainland China does not need nucleic acid test result. Also, all the scenic area are returning to the fully open. So based on those signs, we believe that domestic tourism will steadily bounce back to the normal. Next page, please. Okay. And because of the impact of COVID-19, the government moved to direction of Chinese tourism industry have changed. During the COVID-19, people stay at home to isolate themselves, and the internet become the key medium. They combine the combination of internet with tourism and culture has a huge influence. Just like Ava says, the TikTok and the Xiaohongshu, like short videos, are compatible to promoting the popularity of the tourism in destination to help the many scenic areas to commute many of the visitors. And from the videos, we can see the health and sports, wellness, and theme products is getting popular in China. Next page, please. And okay, after the Chinese domestic market, let's take a look at the situation of outbound market. From the current global perspective, the COVID-19 prevention and the control situation, that shows a significant imbalance. While the epidemic situation in Europe and America countries is relatively serious. And the situation in most of countries in Asia, they have well controlled it. So in this way, it's urgent for the main destination countries and some regions like Singapore and Japan, South Korea, they become the first wave destination to open up. So currently, effect of COVID-19 may not elevate the trend of outbound tourism. We estimate that the recovery of outbound tourism market will also be regarded as the eruption of it. Next, please. Here is some changes in reference in Chinese tourism after the epidemic. A survey result shows the tourism are gonna be younger and they have well educated. And of course, the income of the customers level must be increased. And for the travel products part, customer may pay more attention to the quality of the travel, and they would like to choose like family mini tours and abandon to the big size tours. And the tailor-made during the epidemic period, and the tailor-made products has increased 73%, and the consumption has increased 15% to compare with the last year. And over 70% travelers will choose a high-end or international brand hotel. And another result can surprise me is the shopping might be replaced by the cartooning and the improving accommodation standards instead of maintaining a large proportion of the consumption. Next page, please. Okay, 2016 was the China and the US tourism year. That year has set off the peak of the Chinese tourists to the United States. And however, since 2018, Chinese travelers to the States has gradually decreased. Except for the political reasons, we believe that there have also some following facts to make that happen. The first and the hardest one is visa. Actually, Chinese travelers really like Hawaii. And speaking of the island travel, Hawaii is the first destination come to their mind. But before they get there, they have to facing the big problem is getting a visa, especially for the young and FIT travelers. We can compare with the another island also belong to the US is Saipan. Saipan seems to be more friendly to the travelers because they don't need a visa. So if Hawaii can do the same policy as Saipan, if the travelers have the only destination for the one trip is only for the Hawaii, they can do the same policy and to do the people don't need visa. And I think that will be another welcoming ways to the Chinese travelers to Hawaii. And another big problem is the flight. As remember before the academic situation, the direct flight from Beijing and Guangzhou and Shanghai, the main city to the Hawaii, all the direct flights are grounded. That means Chinese travelers to need to transfer to another country to get to Hawaii. And but also at the same time, there are a lot of regular flights and charters to another island destination like Pacific or Maldives. So the Hawaii is not only choice for them, and they got another easier ways to get to the another destinations. So if we solve the flight problem, I think the Hawaii is becoming another hardest island destination to the Chinese travelers. And another problem might be the price. To compare with the same type of island to the Hawaii price is higher. Let's take example. For a 5-night trip to Maldives, and it will take like 7,000 to 8,000 RMBs and everything included. But same trip to the Hawaii, it will cost like 12,000 RMBs, and only for the transportation and accommodation and like a pickup service. I believe factor this obvious contracts most, and most travelers would choose the cheaper one. We all know that Hawaii have abundant of tourism resources, but there's no clear market position to Chinese travelers, and we need a strong selling point to our customers, like to show them how Hawaii is like. Tahiti, I think they do the good job on promotion to the Chinese travelers. Brand Tahiti is the Hermes of the island. So the Chinese travelers easy to guess Tahiti is the best and the most luxury island in the world. So if we solve these problems, if those problems can be improved, I believe Hawaii will get more Chinese travelers. Next page, please. And it's suggested that Hawaii can make those changes to the Chinese market to improve the Hawaii products cost performance. I can take an example. The hotels, the Chinese people like the all-inclusive hotel. So if Hawaii's hotel to choose can do the inclusive price to the Chinese market or the half-board price, at least to include breakfast and dinner, and the guests don't have to spend extra money on the meal. It seems more reasonable to them. And to the another promotion for the airline companies, if they can do some promotion combined the main island and the outer islands, and some do some promotion price, and it also can take more young travelers to the outer island to take a high risk of the Chinese traveler to be the Hawaii. And Hawaii is less affected by the epidemic in the States. That's need to let Chinese people to know this news. And also the news yesterday about Hawaii is the Native American travelers who are expected to receive the vaccination passport starting May, and they will able to come to Hawaii without the being quarantined. And Hawaii also can use this way to the outbound market and make Hawaii become the gate of outbound travel between the China and the United States. And we hope that the tourism industry will cover soon, and we can send Chinese travelers to Hawaii as soon as possible. Okay, next page. That's all information I want to share today. Here is my email and my WeChat ID. If you have some business or some travel questions that we can share or talk, please feel free to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you, Candice. And thank you for all our audience. And I think from our three speakers, we all can conclude that there are changes going on. And as we say, that the only thing that does not change is change itself. And we definitely need some, changes in our strategies and methods. And the problems Candice just identified, like a visa, like flights, like price. Well, some of the things like visa, I'm sure that this situation will improve. Between China and the United States, from enemies to friends, it took us 20 some years, and with everything changing so fast, I think we don't have to wait for another 2 years for the situation to change. And the most difficult thing to change is probably the price. But she also brought up the subject of market positioning, and definitely we need not only for travel and tourism. We talk about other economic sectors like the produce, like fashion, like education for the opportunities for Hawaii in China. And so product positioning is has been identified one of the important issues that our Hawaii friends should look at. And also customization. And yeah, I believe that our speakers generated enough food for thought. And if you have questions, we are going to have, the Q&A session. And also, a lot of our speakers brought up the subject of social media exposure. And I want to reiterate that our, people at the Beijing office has a few IDs. We have a couple of them on WeChat, and we have them in TikTok. If you have short videos, if you have even some literature or things that you want to send out, and through our channels, we provide service for free, and we actually look forward for anything you can send us, whether pictures, whether videos, whether self-made or whether it's professionally made, and we are happy to share potential Chinese customers. And now let's open the floor for Q&A. And I don't see any questions on the Q&A chat box, but anyways, you have questions, please raise hand or put questions in the chat box, and Tim will open the mic for you. Yeah. Aloha. Yeah, George, you have a question or you just want to say hi? All right. It seems that the friends in the travel and tourism trade, they are very well informed, and of course they have more exposure to the international platform and to information about China. So it seems that no questions at the moment. Of course, if you have, you can always either you get the contact information of our speakers, or you can send your request or questions to Tim at the Honolulu, or you can send to us. We will pass your questions to our speakers. Now let's call it a day, and then thank our speakers and thank for our audience who attend this webinar, and we look forward to talking to
Sorry,
you.
Gordon, sorry the interference. We do have 2 questions coming in.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, George, he does have a question. In my understanding, that from pandemic, that the Chinese tourists will not want to travel in large van. They want small group, like just their family. This question, well, any of our speakers can answer this question. Whether they after the pandemic, they do not want to travel in large vans because it's more crowded, and they only choose, small groups, like in smaller vehicles.
Yes, from our estimation that smaller groups, usually less than 15%, would likely to be more welcomed by future Chinese travelers. That does not mean bigger groups will not exist anymore. Maybe after the improvement of situation with no pandemic existing, there will still be larger groups, but in general, the percentage of large groups will become smaller and smaller.
Any other speaker want to supplement?
Yes, I think I can do some explain to supply. From the experience we worked before, it's not the one's problem. It's based on their budget and how to say. If they prefer, if they are just a family, of course they prefer use small van. And according to the experience before, we arranged a small size group will be more easy. If we want to get a large size group, it means group is really hard to get with us. But for the family or friends, this will be more easy. So that's why they prefer use small van.
Okay. And next question, I'm not sure whether this is from Hawaii or from a friend in China. The question goes like this: does Hawaii have any experience to share with us by coping with COVID-19? If this is from Hawaii, well, probably I think this is from a Chinese audience. Yeah, Hawaii is still, combating COVID-19, if I may say, on behalf of, like many other places, Hawaii experienced 2 or 3 rounds of shutdowns, and well, I don't know whether Tim, you want to say something? You are staying in Honolulu.
Yeah, I think we are doing our best to deal with the COVID-19 as others stay. So we are just doing our best to try to stay safe and to fight with the COVID-19. Yeah.
All right. We have another question coming in. When it comes to food, mentioned the food tasting. So I'm guessing that like taste of our Hawaii tropical fruits like papaya, bananas, pineapples, dragon fruit, jackfruits, and not box of chocolate, macadamia. Food tasting. I guess the question is, you know, they like whether the Chinese tourists like tasting different fruits in a box at the same time, or like they taste chocolate. Frankly, well, Tim, I don't really quite catch the question. Whether George, you want to speak? I'm guessing that it like tastes of our Hawaii. Well, my understanding is that whether Chinese like tasting different fruits. Well, I can say on behalf of some of the speakers, if you want to supplement, you can do this later. But I think Chinese are very adventurous to say. They would like to taste anything. And especially, when you come across people from the South, and they apparently have a much sophisticated palate, and they would like to taste all kinds of stuff. And when it comes to fruit, Chinese people are now much more accustomed to the taste of tropical fruits. You mentioned some rare fruits like dragon fruits, jackfruits, and even they nowadays I see a lot of Chinese people, they like durians, which is much popular in Southeast Asia. So there's no problem that they like to taste different kinds of fruits, whether one at a time, or whether you put them in a plate or a box. And when it comes to chocolate, after years of advertising and bombardment, and that people accept different tastes of chocolate. Of course, macadamia chocolate is among the most popular, most welcome chocolates for Chinese who know this kind of fruit candies. And I used the box of chocolate because I used the box of chocolate because that has been really popular, chocolate macadamia. When tourists go to macadamia nut farm, they taste the cookies and the macadamia nut chocolate. When they go to coffee, they sample coffee. I believe it's more unique experience to taste a variety of our tropical fruits. This time I would like to invite either Ava or Candice, whether he has been George Feng has been trying to cater to the Chinese tourists, and he found that Chinese tourists, they like to taste different taste of chocolates. He put them into a box, and they like to choose different tastes. And whether it's good to do the same for fruits. Or Candice first, whether Chinese Chinese tourists welcome, fruit tasting in a box, put different kinds of fruits in the same plate or box, and would it be popular? Would it be a good way to treat the Chinese tourists?
I think that George wants to say, I don't know if I get it clear or not, is like Chinese people like buy some souvenirs like chocolate. Chocolate is kind of cheaper in America, and especially Hawaii, they have some special flavor like acadia, and they put in the chocolate, and I think it's becoming like we just take as a souvenir. So we bought it a lot, and to share with the family in China. I think that's the why Chinese people like to buy chocolate.
Yeah, you definitely have a reason there.
Mm-hmm.
Ava?
Yeah, I think I can share some experience with George. We have pineapple garden in Wahoo, right? And this place is running as not to selling pineapple products. It's created like a scenery spot. So like family groups, they are prefer to travel to pineapple garden, this place. So if you ask me how to promote or sell your product, I don't think it's a good way just tasting your fruit. It should be like pineapple garden. You're running some funding program in your place. For example, travelers can feeling how to place the fruit and what's the difference between you and other countries, because the fruit you mentioned not only can be found in your country. I think this another Asia place, they also have this kind of product. So if you only want to promote less than tasting, I don't think it's a good way. Maybe you can think deeper another way to make it funding. Like you mentioned, why travelers like coffee, like macadamic nut, it's because it's unique. You cannot find everywhere. It's branding. Hawaii coffee is a branding very well in China market. So that's why people prefer purchase not chocolate Hawaii coffee. But I don't think Hawaii tropical fruit have the same branding in market. That's my opinion.
Okay. Well, time is up actually for our webinar, and I noticed that George has another question. I would say that our listeners knows who have no more questions, and you feel like you have obligations for other things, so you can just leave the meeting room. And for George, we continue. We stay in meeting room. We answer your questions. Then his question goes like, chocolate is cheaper than in China. You are just referring to the discount prices from macadamia farm who market to tourists Hawaii chocolate. At the chocolate farm, farmers, it's at least $15 a bar, and they have tour for $39. Ava, you got the question?
I think Georgie want to see the price is not cheaper. Why all the travelers to purchase this kind of products? Right, George? Is this your point? I'm not sure.
I should say that actually, from my experience, Ava traveled to many places, and I believe Candice too, to a lot of North American places. Chocolate in China are generally pretty expensive. even for the most ordinary chocolates, they are pretty expensive. In relation to the salary standards of the Chinese consumers, and for some specialty chocolates, it's even more expensive. For example, for a pack of macadamia, like Hawaii Host macadamia chocolate, it sells about $10 or so. For a small box of macadamia nuts, it can be well $12–13, and it's not cheap. And if you buy from even in Hawaii, well, the only place I know is ABC store, or the farm stores. They are cheaper, really. So compared, and besides, George, you have to understand, as Candice say, the Chinese travelers, they go out, they buy for gifts. Sometimes they are not very price conscious, and if it's a local specialty, and no matter whether it's 50% or 100% or 200% more expensive, they just need to buy something for their friends, for their families, for their colleagues. He says, how he hosts is $3, and that's much cheaper than in China. Okay, but anyways, you can either you get into touch with Ava, with us, and with Candice. They have WeChat, and they have social media accounts, and you can discuss later if you have questions. So time is really up. So let's really close for today, and we look forward to meeting you next time. Next is on March, which day? Let me see. March the 11th is a Thursday. Please register for our last webinar. Thank you so much. Wish you a very good day. And thank you, our speakers. Wish you a very good day too. So bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.